Welcome Owens family members. I am your family member Susan. I have been corresponding with you for the past few months about the Owens family reunion. I have said this on a few of my videos. Family and friends are hidden treasures. Seek them out and enjoy their riches. The memories we make with our family is everything. Everyone needs a house to live in, but a supportive family is what builds a home. Being a family means you are a part of something very wonderful. And I mean every word I said. You may be asking, what is the purpose of this video? Well, I wanted to talk about the Owens family. This history was written by Cedric Thomason, son of Mildred and Ezell Thomason. He wanted to talk about the rich history of the Owens family, starting with Roberta and Carl Owens. He says, "I didn't know much about Carl. He died before most of the grandchildren were born. But our grandmother Roberta, who was one of the most loving grandmothers you could ever have, she attended church every Saturday, because he said most Saturdays he took her to church. She always had a kind word. She never ran out of hugs or cookies. Roberta was a remarkable woman. She had a wonderful combination of warmth and kindness, laughter and love. And she was a grandmother who loved her children like no one else in the world. Roberta showed her love for every family member. The Owens family was her life, and everything else came second as far as what was important to her. She believed in keeping her family together. I remember her calling my mother Mildred and saying, 'You are going to have Christmas dinner or many of the holiday dinners at your house.' She never gave Mildred a chance to say no. She just said, 'You will be having dinner at your house.' Mildred would sometimes say, 'What about having it at someone else's house?' I remember hearing grandmother say, 'I said you are going to have it at your house,' and that ended the conversation. One of the most important things that the Owens family did was to have family gatherings. We spent time together as a family. We always had family gatherings at our house. This was essential, because tomorrow was never promised. There was never a holiday that we didn't gather together as a family. It has been over 20 years since we have gathered together as a family. For the past 20 years, the only time we have been together was to view a dead body. The purpose of a family meeting is to foster open communication among family members. This gathering should be a safe place where everyone feels free to say what they think. One of the most important things I remember about the Owens brothers and sisters was unity. Whenever a family member was in need, another family member would step in and take up the slack. These sisters would take care of their nephews and nieces like they were their child. When Gloria, the youngest sister, died in a car accident, the Owens sisters stepped in and took care of those 3 girls like they were their own children. There was never a time when another sister needed help with their child or children, and another family member wouldn't step in to help. They also believed in keeping in touch with each family member. We always visited each family member on a regular basis. On every holiday and special occasion, the family was together. It didn't matter where you lived, this family came together. Roberta and Carl had 13 children. And today, now I would like to give the grandchildren of Carl and Roberta Owens, and the grandchildren of grandmother's sister's children an opportunity to express their appreciation for their mothers, and other family members of the Owens family. So now, give them your undivided attention. My mother Mildred was the matriarch of the family. Most of her sisters and brothers depended on her. When grandmother needed something, she would always call on my mom, because she knew my mother would take care of business. Mom always said, "I've had to be a mother all my life, that's why I only had one child." We have always had a relative living with us. I may have been an only child, but I never felt lonely because we always had a family member living with us. I can also never remember a time in my life when we didn't have a cousin or some relative at our house on Sunday. All of my uncles, aunts, and cousins would trickle in our house, at one time or another, on every Sunday. There was always food on the stove, and they were welcome to a plate of food. My mother always told me. Carl, her father, said whatever you put your mind to, you can do. And those are the words that I have lived by. My mother helped support every dream that I had. She would say, "Don't tell Azel what I did, because he wouldn't like it." She spent $5,000 on my first computer, 30 years ago. That was a lot of money at that time. But she believed in my dreams. And that is why I have worked so hard on this family reunion. Because of her belief in my dreams. She believed in me, and she believed in her family. She never gave up on me, and she never gave up on her family. And I would like to say thank you for the family members who stayed by her until she died. I want to say thank you, Mom. Mildred, Grand. And thank you to my Owens family members. Betty Ann Jackson was a very strong mother and Christian who loved her Lord and her family. Betty and her sister Grand loved to cook big dinners for the holidays, so the whole family could come together. In later life, Betty and her roommate Frances got very set in her ways. If Betty didn't want to get dressed, Frances wouldn't get dressed either. They enjoyed each other's company for many years. Betty so loved her children and taught them to be strong, hardworking, show no malice for your fellow man, caring, independent and loving men and women. Samuel Owens, my dad, is a great person, loving father and grandfather and great-grandfather. He was a hard worker when he was working. He worked for over 25 years at Pirelli Tire as a factory worker. My mom worked at Vanderbilt Hospital for over 20 years, and as we all know, she was a good woman, but a hellraiser. Don't mess with her husband or kids, and everything was fine. Or don't talk about God in a way she didn't like. My mother ran the house, and my dad made the money. My dad taught me that if you wanted something in life, you gotta work hard to get it. The world ain't gonna give you nothing for free or easy. He is a firm believer in treating people right. The way you would want to be treated is the way to treat people. As I was coming up, he was helpful to family members, especially his sisters and his mother. He loved them dearly. My dad taught us to be humble when you need to be, but be strong to protect yourself and family when the time calls for it. He taught us by actions how to take care of your family. My dad is a strong man and a God-fearing man. He has a heart of gold. My dad isn't a quitter. He's been fighting for his life for over a year now, and he is still kicking. I'm proud of my dad because he's doing exactly what he taught us to do. And that's to never give up. God got him, and we all know that. The most important thing that my dad taught me was how to be the man of my house, a father, a husband, a teacher, a good listener, and most of all, taught us how to follow God. Samuel Owens. We all love you. Moses Owens was born in Fayetteville, Tennessee in 1928. He is now 94 years old. Moses moved to Nashville and met his wife Catherine. He joined the Army. Together they have 4 children: Michael, Donna, Cheryl, Kevin. They have several grandchildren and several great-grandchildren. Moses worked for many years at Wilson Quick and worked for flower shops after the passing of his wife. Moses moved to Trevecca Towers. Moses is at Bethany Healing and Rehabilitation. Donna Owens, the second child born to Moses and Catherine Owens, learned from her dad how a husband should treat his wife or significant other. Donna said her dad was a quiet man, but talkative and funny. She said when her mother would get upset at something her father would say, he would say, "Ah, sugar," or "Ah, baby." That would calm her down. She said she never really heard them argue about anything. Dad never yelled, screamed, or raised his voice, just say, "Ah, baby," "sugar," to mom. And everything was all right. Mose, your children and family will always love you. I am Juanita Owens McCautry Anderson. I am the oldest daughter of the youngest child of Roberta and Carl Owens, Gloria Jean Owens McCautry. My sisters and I were not fortunate to have our mother in our lives over the years. I was blessed with 4.5 years, my sister Cassandra was blessed with 3.5, and my youngest sister, Teresa, who was born on January 26, 1971, did not even get 3 months with her, because on April 9, 1971, our mother tragically died in a car accident. So when I was asked to write something on the impact our mom had on our lives, the task seemed daunting. All I could think about was the impact of not having our mother in our lives. But when I really took the time to think about the impact that she did have, I would have to say that it truly came from our father, Alvin McCautry, and our Owens family. Her siblings stepped up to the plate to make sure that we knew her. When we were younger, I would come to Nashville and stay with my Aunt Betty, Cassandra would stay with Gran, and Teresa stayed with Grandma, and that's how our mother impacted us, through our father, her siblings, and the rest of the Owens family. We may not have had her here on earth with us, but we had a huge part of her with us through all of you, and while we know that our lives might have been different and possibly taken different directions if we had not lost her when we did, we know that our lives were definitely impacted by her memory and the legacy she left us with you, our family. Juanita Marie Owens McCautry Anderson. Things that Laureen Parks and her sister and husband impressed upon the Parks children. Laureen Parks impressed on her children the importance of education. It was not asked if you wanted to attend college. It was expected. Laureen and John Davis Parks had 6 children. 4 girls. Margaret, Beatrice, Connie, and Valerie, and 2 boys, William and Alton. Laureen or John Davis Parks never completed any further than an 8th grade education. But they sent all 6 of their children to college. All 6 graduated from Tennessee State University. A good work ethic was installed in all the Parks children. After attending school all week, the children would forward to sleeping in late on Saturday. But Laureen said Saturday was house cleaning day. And if it was not clean to Laureen's expectations, she would say, "Lick you calf over." That meant, anything worth doing is worth doing right. Laureen installed in the Parks children the importance of getting together annually, or to take a family vacation. Laureen taught her oldest daughters the art of cooking. Laureen was a seamstress. She made most of her girls' clothes. She influenced Connie to pick up sewing as well. Their mother's sister, Mildred, and her husband Azelle, was also influential in their life. Azelle and Mildred got summer jobs for both William and Alton. Azelle helped Beatrice and William get credit by co-signing for them to get TVs. Azelle worked on washers and dryers. He made sure we all had a washer and dryer. The Owens ladies were great cooks. And the whole Owen family believed in helping other family members. Stella Lamb. From her daughter, Linda Lamb. Linda stated that she remembered my mom saying when I was very young to treat people the way you want to be treated. At that time, I did not understand what that meant. As I got older and realized what that meant, I began living my life treating people the way that I wanted to be treated. This is the way I live my life on a daily basis. Joseph and I both knew our mom had great work ethics and many talents. She said if you were going to do something, do it right. Our mother was a fantastic cook and gardener. When our mom made homemade rolls, the neighbors across the street would smell them and look forward to receiving a batch of them. Our mother was the valedictorian of her high school class. She also went to church every Sunday along with all of her 7 children. She was a great speaker and spoke at various churches. I left Fayetteville at the end of my 9th grade year. My mother and I moved to Nashville to live with Roberta Owens, her mother, while my mother was healing from a broken leg. Being the only girl out of 7 children, I got an opportunity to go to Nashville with her. When I came to Nashville, I started 10th grade at Pearl High School, where I met new friends. And I wanted to stay in Nashville and complete high school. When my mom recovered from her broken leg and was ready to return to Fayetteville, I did not want to go back to Fayetteville, Tennessee. I wanted to stay in Nashville. I begged them to allow me to stay in Nashville and complete high school. They both went back and forth on the decision and decided to let me graduate from Pearl High. After my mother moved back to Fayetteville, Tennessee, I started living with my aunt and uncle, Mildred and Azelle Thomason. Coming from 9 people living in 3 rooms, not 3 bedrooms, no running water and an outhouse was like living with rich people. I had my own bedroom and was treated as though I was their biological child. I learned at an early age how to play the game of life. There were times when both my aunt and uncle said things that I did not like, but I would not say a word out loud. I knew then how to keep my mouth shut and say what I had to say in mind. Keeping my mouth shut was my first lesson in knowing how to play the game of life. I was not willing to take a chance on saying something and they send me back to Fayetteville to live in a 3-room house with no running water, an outside toilet and 9 people living in 3 rooms. By living with my aunt and uncle, I learned many life lessons. My aunt Mildred and my uncle Azelle and my mother were givers, always helping others and giving them lots of love. My aunt and uncle helped so many people and allowed them to live with them until they were able to provide for themselves. I was one of those people who was given that opportunity to live with them until I graduated from college and moved into my own apartment. I find myself following in their footsteps. I am also a giver and I cannot begin to tell you how many people who have lived with me and how many people I have helped that did not live with me. I believe that the majority of the Owens are givers and willing to assist others if they are in need. The biggest lesson I have learned early is being able to play the game of life. By being able to play the game of life, doors will open and give you many opportunities to obtain what you want and more. My parents, James and Elise Wilson, growing up, were simply the center of the lives of myself and my sisters Vanessa and Yvette. Both being from Nashville and having met in their teens when the Owens moved in down the street from the Wilson family. That influenced my parents to understand the importance of sharing, as both came from large families. My parents instilled in us early on that you have to protect and be willing to sacrifice for your family. Sometimes when you don't have money or simply be in need, family may be all that you can count on. Also, both of my parents grew up knowing the importance of faith, and my mom passed that value into her children. Finally, my parents taught my siblings and I to simply be grateful for any blessing that you receive. Drew Owens Kercheval was a devoted Seventh-day Adventist, a member of Hillcrest Seventh-day Adventist Usher Board. She actively supported various programs and church initiatives such as feeding the homeless, which she loved. She raised 4 girls and supported them in higher education while working at Genesco for 20 years. Afterwards, she achieved a mental health certification from Meharry Medical College and worked there a few years in their clinic. Later, she worked as a dormitory resident advisor at Tennessee State University. She enjoyed that assignment immensely. Years later, she changed her occupation and began providing home health care for seniors. She transitioned in 1993, at 67 years of age. In summary, to date, 2022, Drew Owens Kercheval had 4 children that created 6 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren and 4 great-great-grandchildren. She was always committed to helping her children by providing practical advice that she believed would ensure that they were honest, hardworking, had good values and were spiritually connected. Her firstborn, Barbara, recalls countless times that her mom taught her how to maintain a house, how to cook and life lessons. Barbara said because she was the oldest, it was very important to learn so she could help out with her sisters. And Jeanette, her grandchild, often would tell her mom, Barbara, "Grandmama always tried to teach me how to cook. If I had listened more attentively to her when she tried to teach me, I know I would be a better cook." In addition to cooking, she would occasionally take Aunt Jeanette to work with her to instill work ethics. Early on, she recognized that Annie, her second child, had a keen interest in music, so she purchased a clarinet and provided an instructor. She was Annie's champion for her creativity and thirst for knowledge. Chrissy, her granddaughter, were roomies once. She stayed with her grandmother a short stint while attending Tennessee State University. Wanda, her middle child, stated her fondest memory is her constant message to her, "Go for your goals and don't let anyone stop you." Wanda's son, Brian, spent quality time and traveled with his grandmother to Texas. The youngest child, Sheila, is happy that she was able to spend precious time with her mom in her later years. Mom visited me in Houston to help after the birth of my daughter, Skylar. She traveled with me to Arkansas to take care of Skylar while I was on a working assignment there. During those visits, I vividly remember asking lots of questions and received a wide array of responses. Sharing 4. Question 1. I asked her. 1. After graduating from high school in Lincoln County, what would you have majored in if you had gone to college? Her reply was, "I was always good in chemistry, that's what I would have pursued." 2. What is your favorite city that you have visited? Her reply, Sacramento, California. 3. What do you think I should always remember? Her reply, you are only as good as your word, always do what you say. 4. The last question was, what was the best and most challenging part of your life? Her reply was raising my children. So profound. Love of family sums it up. Drew Owens Kercheval. Born December 28, 1925. By Sheila Kercheval Brown. And last but not least, we are here today to honor our last living sister of the Owens girls. Throughout history, the world has witnessed many great women of strength who managed to tap into their everyday power to leave an indelible mark on society. And now, a word from children of Esther Owens Buchanan. To my beloved mother Esther R. Owens Buchanan. You are the staple of our family, and you are the glue that keeps us all together. We love you so much. You have implemented a little bit of you in all of us. You're so selfless, caring, loving, and show unconditionally love to everyone. We appreciate all you have done and still continue to do for us. From the Sunday dinners, to the homemade birthday cakes, to the last-minute babysitter. Nothing you do goes unnoticed. As we get older, the more I appreciate the small things in life and know making memories with you will last a lifetime. I would like for everyone to stand in honor our new matriarch of the Owens family. I said, our new matriarch of the Owens family, Mrs. Esther Buchanan. I said, get up out of your seats in honor our new matriarch, Mrs. Esther Buchanan.